Okay, so you've created your course, and the next thing that you're likely going to want to do is populate that course with some students. So to do this, you have two options. The first option is that you can simply tell your students to go to Runestone Academy and click on the sign up button. And that will do just like what you did in order to sign up for this workshop. It'll bring you to this page. And in the course name field here, you will tell them the name of the course that you created, and they will fill all of that in. And that will add them to your course. Okay. The other way of doing it, which a lot of people have asked for, is for you to be able to pre-register your students so that you can assign them usernames and so on. All right, and so we'll take a look at that. But as long as we're at the home page, this is a good time to just point out that at the bottom of this home page, we do have our privacy policy and our terms of service linked. So I'm not going to read this all to you, but if we look at the privacy policy, probably the most important thing here is that we don't sell or trade or transfer any of your personally identifiable information or any of the personally identifiable information for your students to anybody. Okay, with that said, because Runestone is both a service to the academic community as well as a platform for doing academic research on computer science education, we do, in an anonymous form, share data. So the data that we collect from courses in progress has been used for several different PhD research projects, including the research project of Barb Erickson. So the wonderful Parsons problems and the adaptive Parsons problems are all a product of research that Barb did in the course of her getting her PhD that leveraged the data coming from the Runestone platform. Right. So the good news for you is that makes Runestone a better and more effective learning tool for your students. We also have our terms of service here that says, if we were to ever have a breach, that we would inform you as quickly as we could. But the other really important thing I think in this terms of service are these two addendums. So a lot of states are really starting to try to write proactive laws to protect student privacy, and we're certainly supportive of that. The downside of that is that a lot of times these state laws don't take into consideration small open source projects like Runestone. So they will say that we have to enter into a contract with a school district. And so I'll get a letter from a school district say, please sign this contract. Well, I wouldn't be very smart to just blindly sign contracts that show up in the mail, right? So I've tried to be as proactive about when a state like Connecticut has some additional terms and conditions that they want me to agree to. I've gone to the effort of having a lawyer review that and saying that yes, we can agree to those additional terms, right? If your school district insists that I have to sign a contract, then there's two routes. The one route is that I send the district an invoice to cover my legal costs of having a lawyer review the contract, or you'll see that there is a way for you to create a Runestone course and to pre-register your students in a way that doesn't give away any of their personally identifiable information to Runestone. And so we'll get to that in just a moment. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and go to our course. So this is our course that we just created, test course, fall 20. And let's go ahead and go to the instructors page. All right, and on this instructors page, in terms of managing and registering students, we're going to click on this Manage Students tab. Okay, so you'll see the Manage Students tab here would show you the list of students that you have in your class and allows you to do some things like remove them or reset their passwords, and we'll cover that a bit later. But more importantly, here's where you can pre-register a bunch of students by providing Runestone with a CSV file of student information. All right, so a CSV file, CSV stands for comma separated values. It's kind of one of those industry standard file formats that's just a plain text file, so you can create this in a text editor, or if you prefer, you could create it in a tool like Microsoft Excel. And as it says here, the format of this file, it has these columns. The first column is the username, second column is the email address, first name, last name, password, and then the name of the course. All right. So here is where you can take advantage of pre-registering your students and having control over all of this, in that you can assign your students their usernames that would be completely anonymous. Peanuts 1, Peanuts 2, Peanuts 3. You can use your email address for all of your students instead of having to assign you an email for each student. Now, a slight twist on that, which will make your life a lot better, is if you make yourself a Gmail account and then use the Gmail address of whatever your name is plus, and then you can use your student's username. Right? So Gmail has this built-in capability for you to assign a bunch of aliases to your email address. So all of these will go to your My Name email inbox, but they'll have this added bit of information on it that, a password reset request came in for Peanuts04, right? And then all you have to do is go look at your notes and see who Peanuts04 is, and you can go ahead and forward that reset request onto them. All right. So the first name and last name columns can be completely anonymous. Could be a student instead of Charles Brown, right? And you could just make up names for all of your students. Then the password, and then of course the course name, which must match the course that you're registering your students for. So if you do this all with this anonymous information, then all you have to do is remember, all right, Peanuts 01 is really Charles Brown, Peanuts 02 is Sally Brown, and so forth. And you can just keep that mapping private, and Runestone will have no information about what your students' real email address is or what their real names are. Okay, once you've filled this in, you can go up here and you can choose Save As. And you can save this as, and you can choose this file format of being a CSV file. And then that'll save to disk. So back here, we can now go ahead and choose that file that you've just created. And click the Register Students button. And here it says you've created 3 new users. Go back to the Manage Students page. We see there are your 3 students. Okay, so they're there. They're ready. First day of class, all you have to do is give all your students a little slip of paper that has their username and the password that you made up for them on it, and they can go ahead and log in. And if they want to change their password, they can go right to the password, go right to the user menu and choose Change Password and go ahead and do it that way. Okay, something else that you might want to do is sometimes when you haven't created the usernames and so on for your students, you'll have a student that mistypes their email address. They'll forget their username. They'll forget their password. They'll forget everything, right? So when that is the case, then you have the ability for the students in your class to be able to reset their passwords for them. And so if Peppermint Patty is completely lost and forgot her password and everything, you can just select her in the list here, click on Reset Password, type in a new password for her, click on OK, and it'll tell you that it reset the password. Okay, that way you don't have to try to send me an email to go in and do this manually in the database. You can take care of your own class, which is great. The other thing that will happen is that you'll have a student that will drop, and so you don't want to have those students in the reports. You don't want them in the grade book. You don't want them kind of getting in the way of grading and everything. So you might want to remove a student from the class. So if a student does drop, all you got to do is select that student from here and click the Remove Students button, and it will go ahead and remove that student. So there's Sally Brown is no longer in our class. Now, what this doesn't do is it doesn't delete Sally completely. So if you remember when we talked about creating the course, we talked about the concept of that we have these base courses and then we have your bespoke course, right? And the base courses are always open to any learner that wants to come in and read that book and learn from it. And so what we do when we remove a student from the course is we really just transfer them to the base course, right? That way, if a student wants to retrieve some code that they wrote or decides, that they dropped the class, but maybe they still want to come and pick some stuff up on their own, they can come, they can log in, they'll be in that base course, and they can pick up wherever they left off when they dropped the course. If they truly want to remove all trace of themselves from the Runestone system, then a student can definitely do that. They can just go to the edit profile page here, and you'll see that there is this checkbox that they can check to delete their account and all the data, and then they can click on this delete button. So that's how you can remove a student when they drop. All right, while we're here, let's take a look at a couple of these other tabs. So we've got course settings. So some of this stuff you could set when you created your course, like the term start date, but if that changes for any reason, or if you forgot to set it when you created your course, you can come here and you can update your term start date. You can also enable or disable that pair programming feature from this page. And then here's something that you could also enable, which is to enable active code downloads. So, a student can always kind of copy and paste their work out of an active code, but a lot of instructors have found that having a download link so that all a student has to do is click on download to get a copy of the program that they wrote in Runestone is also very convenient. So we added that as an optional feature. Another kind of management thing that often comes up is that you want to add a co-instructor, or maybe you have a student that you want to have be a TA for you in your class to help with grading and so forth. And so to create a co-instructor or a TA, all they have to do is first register for the course. All right, and so then you can come to this page here and you can see, let's say that we wanted to make Peppermint Patty a TA, right? So all we have to do to promote her is click on her name, click on the plus button down here, and it moves her into the column of instructors. So TAs, all instructors have access to the grading interface, to the grade book, basically to everything that we're covering in this workshop and every aspect of this instructor's page. Okay, so that's kind of the basic registration and course management stuff.